So, after we understand who God is, the next question we need to answer is, who are we? Once we understand who God is, now we need to understand who we are. Well, the Bible reveals that all of us, all human beings, are made in the image of God. And that's what makes us different from animals. It's obvious that people have much more value than any animal. We can reason, we have emotions, we have a soul. And that is what makes human beings different than animals. That's why we have much more value than animals. That's why when any human life is lost, when any human life is taken, it's a tragic thing. And it's something, when someone takes a human life, when one person takes the life of another human being, it is a very, very serious thing, and it's something that requires justice. It's something that requires punishment because people are made in the image of God. So, being made in God's image, because of who God is, because we are made in His image, it says in Genesis that He created us in His image, male and female, is how God created each and every one of us. And so, because of that, that's what gives our lives meaning and value and purpose. And not only are we made in God's image, but we were created for God. We were not created to be our own autonomous creatures that just live by our own will, by our own desires, by our own understanding. We were made to live in relationship to God. We were made to worship God and to live in relationship with Him. And that's how it was at the beginning of creation. When God made Adam and Eve, the first people, everything was perfect and they lived in perfect relationship with God. But then something very terrible happened. Adam and Eve were deceived by Satan, and they fell into sin. And when they fell into sin, it plunged the entire human race into sin. And so all of us, as a result of their sin, are born sinners. And so from the very moment of our birth, the very moment that we were conceived, our relationship to God is broken. We are born with this broken relationship with our Creator. The Bible says that all of us have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And it says that all of us are by nature children of wrath, that we're dead in trespasses and sins. It says that in Ephesians 2. And so what you have to understand is that we're not made sinners after we sin. We sin because we are sinners. It's our very nature. Sin comes naturally to us. If you think about it, if you have kids, you probably noticed that you didn't have to teach your child how to lie. It comes naturally to them. You don't have to teach a child how to be selfish or how to take something that doesn't belong to them. They just do it. They do it naturally because it's a part of their nature. All of us are born with this sinful nature. And because we're born with that sinful nature, we're also born, the Bible says, at enmity with God. In other words, we're at war with God. We don't seek after God. The Bible says in Romans 3, no one seeks after God. Perhaps, if you've heard someone say this, or maybe you've said this yourself, have you ever said something like this? Have you ever said, I believe in God, but I'm just not very religious? Or maybe you've heard someone say that. When someone says that, what they've done is they've just admitted to being what the Bible calls an idolater. Okay? That's the very first commandment of the 10 Commandments God gave His people, Israel, when Moses led them out of Egypt. and they were wandering around in the wilderness. He gave them commandments to live by. And the very first commandment was, I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me. And you don't have to make a statue out of stone or wood in order to be an idolater. All you have to do is remake God, instead of as God has revealed himself in his word, remake him in your own mind the way that you would like him to be. When we do that, um, that is idolatry. We are making a God to suit ourselves, to suit our own preferences, to suit our own sins. Um, and so maybe you've heard someone say, or perhaps you said yourself, my God is a loving God who would never send anyone to hell. Um, and if you believe in a God like that, you believe in a fake God, a false God, because that's not how God has revealed himself. And so that's the problem, is that we naturally reject God, the true God, the way that he actually is, the person that, the being that he actually is. We naturally run away from him.